It's interesting because I actually just I was kind of writing about it in my last post because, there's we can get really hard on ourselves. And I think this is just through my experience and my observing at my own life and just my viewpoint on some of this stuff, obviously. And I feel that we can get really hard on ourselves, and go back and go, why did I do that? Why did, and was that decision made back then? And I mean, we know well enough now that that's all part of the path all the way along. That was what made this, and we hear that phrase all the time. So I think that it just happened that way. And I had no control over, well, of course I did have control, but it just flowed. And, when life happens like that and it just keeps clicking into place, and it's almost like your soul's just saying yes to it, even though and it's just right. You just keep going, and there is no necessary thought to really overanalyze. The body and the soul
The
and the mind is just
trajectory, yeah.
all in this flow. So there's no need to sit there and think about it and analyze, and is this good for me? Because I sometimes feel like I went through that stage where you start overanalyzing things and then you start getting in your own way and stuck. Um, but at that time in my life, everything just happened, and there was resistance. Definitely was a resistance,
Resistance from
especially
you
being
or
that.
resistance from the people
No,
around you?
well, I had trained to be like I was a dancer. Like I was training to be a ballerina, and that's what my heart was set on. I was kind of, I wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved animals. And then, all of a sudden I get, seen on the beach, and the next thing I know, I'm, taking photos and then going to Australia and then going, oh no, I don't want to be doing this. And I want to go back to New Zealand. I just want a normal life, and then yet again, another opportunity came and another opportunity came. So that was the dance at the beginning of it, the resistance in some ways, of just merging from coming, I mean, obviously I was almost a kid, 16, to going into this life, this other part of my life, into that 16, 17-year-old, you're looking at, starting to support yourself, because that's what we do. We get little jobs or this or that. But I mean, this was moving to the other side of the world 30
Married
years
at
later or something.
21, which is, I guess that was the thing that, you know, e- everyone had an opinion on. Um, you were already very well established in your career, and somebody, an adult in your own right, and yet, of course, marrying Rod Stewart, who had such an international name and persona. It's it's still, even now, it's 2022, people will say, wow, there's such a power dynamic. But I think it's really interesting because in my experience personally, and also with people that I've seen around me, there is a power that comes with beauty and with youth, and almost and you can't underestimate that. And when I think we're about 4 years age difference,
Interesting,
you and
yeah.
I. And I remember, when you married Rod Stewart, I would have been like 17, and that seemed like, wow, that's a big age difference. But I've dated men much older than me, and I've dated men much younger than me. And what I've realized is that every age, every stage has its own power dynamic, and it's rarely one-sided. And
Mm,
I guess the longevity of your marriage and the fact that you had two great children, and you're still, as I understand, um, friends and in each other's lives, is testimony
mm,
to the fact that sometimes it's absolutely nothing to do with the number. It is two souls meeting at a time when they were meant to, and it
yeah,
is what it is.
yeah. No, absolutely. By the way, if I break out in a sweat, it's because I'm definitely in that perimenopause stage. So everybody at home, I do not have a fever. It's just my body's just going through changes. It's actually the only thing I have, thank God. But I think that it is. It's just you don't plan something, and I mean, I mean, look, some people do, some people don't. For me, it was just like this. It was how we met, who it was just a force that came together and we were together. I mean, it was beautiful. And we were together, 9 years. We had two incredible children. A really, well, I mean, one of the most important people in my life was obviously Rod, because we've got two beautiful children, and it was so much fun. We were a tight family on the road, and we, had dinners with the band and the crew and everybody. It was like this amazing family, and yeah, we were just again, it's just not that overthinking, because I think definitely right now there's so much overthinking. It's so much analyzing.
Tell me
Yeah,
about your
yeah,
show, because I think that that was the most amazing way to you traveled around the world and you went deep into 23 different countries and cultures to discover their ancient rituals, their secrets, their view on aging and beauty. What was that all about? That was amazing.
yeah. We'd just finished doing New Zealand's Got Talent, and the producers of the show, we were talking about doing another show, and anyway, that's how it was kind of birthed out of. And Uh, yeah, we were in feed. Well, first of all, we went to Greece, South Korea, um, India, all these places, and obviously there was always a, what is the new beauty cream treatment? In South Korea, obviously there was a huge plastic surgery component to that. But also we went to the natural side where there was a lot of the uh, natural medicines and stuff. It was incredible because you really got to see um, just the variety of and the outlooks of beauty, and the depth of it, and how different it was in each culture. And every time I went into a country, um, you fall in love with it because I was like, every time I was like, oh my God, I want to live in Morocco. Oh my God, I want to live in, in Greece, or I want to live in India, or I want to live in, wherever we were. It was just the richness of life, and your capacity your capacity to understand beauty in all layers and all understandings as much as you could. Um, Whether it was, these older people dancing on full moons, in Greece, and having this wine that had actually a high alcohol content, their longevity. One of the blue zones we were, and we didn't actually go to the blue zone community, but we were on the island at the blue zone in Ikaria. Uh, but it was deep because, I mean, sometimes it would be about a fruit. Next thing it would be about a young girl who wanted plastic surgery in a country, or the next thing it would be about the spiritual aspect of it. So there was no. We're trying to harness something that is everyone's birthright is to express themselves, and we're trying to harness this whole energetic expression, and trying to keep it into these containers of analyzing. And yet all the soul wants to do and what we want to do is just go and express ourselves. So this was just such a beautiful way to show that there's no one way. There's just so many, as we all
Was there
know.
a universal theme though in your travels? Because you visited 23 countries and the variety of attitudes, as you said, treatments, trends was so broad. But was there, at the end of filming, was
All
there
of
a
it, yeah.
universal theme that you went, yes, as a woman, as a former model who I guess was the image of beauty and you've
Mm.
sold beauty, was there something that you just went, there is a universal theme here, and that is what needs to be bottled?
Overall, it would be moderation in everything. It's the natural food and enjoying, you go to France or you go to where you have the French diet, you know, the next thing you're eating in that show at that time, we were eating steak and chips. Like, how do they stay thin? So it really, that's what I mean by it was unharnessed. One minute you'd be like, oh yeah, it's all about natural. The next thing you're in France and you're going, how does this work? You know, where everybody's super skinny, you get there's a lot of steak and chips and there's wine, like the French diet.
Have you had any of the
Um,
aesthetic procedures? You know, have you tried injectables? Have you tried,
yeah,
lasers or any of that? And do you like them?
not when we're into beauty, we did Botox. I mean, sometimes I'll do that. I mean, I haven't got anything right now, but I mean, you know, I think that those are there, and like if you want to experiment with them, you know, do I, you know, sometimes you do feel that, um, you know, especially when you start feeling the neck go around your in your 50s. Um, the, the mouth is also a sign, um, of course. So when that time comes for me to make that decision, and it becomes a self-conscious, you're self-conscious in front of somebody. Um, but then all I do is I want to observe, am I doing it because of what they're looking at? Or am I doing it because it's going to make me feel more comfortable? So it's really, I want to relate it back to, is it going to give me this confidence? Is it going to make me happier? Not, um, is it, am I going to be more attractive? It's an external thing. I want it to be an internal decision more so. nature